What is up, everyone? Got a new build I want to share with you all. This is probably my favorite build that I've actually put together. It's another SMG build, and it's a bit different than my True Patriots SMG build. I do think the True Patriots is still better for solo PvP if you're trying to, 4v1 people. But this one here pairs so well in a group, especially if you've got someone running the tardigrade chest with high armor. You're going to really love this build. It started out the other day, completely different and transitioned into this, and I think it's just amazing. I've got a couple of clips I can show you of it in action, but first I'm going to give a little quick rundown on the build and then go more into detail. I run a Vector, the stubby Vector, the 9mm with no stock, because it's got the highest DPS output of any gun in the game, burst DPS. So compared to the other Vectors, it's got, a shorter magazine, but it does more damage per bullets in the same RPM. I think it's great. You'll see that it kills things very, very fast. I have it rolled to damage to out of cover and Optimist. I think Optimist is the best on these little Vectors. If anything other than that, maybe Fast Hands, even though you won't be getting full stacks of Fast Hands, it'll still help with the reloads. Strained is not good with these because they empty so fast. As you can see, when I shoot this thing, it does not last long. But the rate of fire is insane, and it's enough to burn down most players in the dark zone. As a secondary, I choose either an M1A Classic, or a White Death, or a Nemesis. My White Death I like a lot. It's, double God rolled with Ranger, and it just does a ton of damage. I can one-shot most players when they're far away, and it works great. I'll go more into detail on the guns and how I have them set up, as well as the mods on them. So normally I don't use coyote masks, but I do use it in this build, and it's mostly due to the way I use the SMG and the White Death in this. Then we use a Devil's Due, and that is for the perfect clutch. The gloves right now can either be Y'all or Seska. 2-piece Seska will give you that hazard protection. 1-piece Y'all will also give you the hazard protection. And these are 1 blue. I have a blue core on this. This build could either be all reds, 1 blue, 2 blues, or even 3 blues. It's much more up to you and what you have at your availability for gear. But what's really important, as you'll see here, is these have hazard protection on them. You want to be immune to fire with this build. Fully immune to lighting on fire, because when you are with a submachine gun and you're up close and you break someone's armor, almost everyone's running the fire specialization. You light on fire. In PvP, you can no longer crit while you're on fire, and that sucks. It will get you killed, and you can only hip fire. So you'll see in one of my clips that I show, when I'm on fire, I no longer crit, and if I wouldn't have lit on fire, it would have, won me the fight. And that was when I had like 80 hazard protection to fire. I've since added to it, and we'll go deeper into the numbers that you need to achieve for hazard protection. I do run Fox's Prayers, and these work great, especially if you're using an M1A as your secondary. But I just have these ones rolled to hazard protection. They're still worth it for my SMG because of the damage to out of cover. I'm not sure come Tuesday, once these get nerfed, how well they're going to fare. And then I'm running 2-piece Sokolov, also with hazard protection. And it works great. As far as the specialization, we're running Demolitionist. And I'll go over the tree of Demolitionist as well, but it helps with multiple things. And let me just show you guys a clip, and then we'll go more into detail of each piece. So here we go. This is a little clip of, this was earlier in the build. It wasn't as good as it is now. The M1A, you can see, hits really, really hard. You can choose between whatever secondary you want. But here we go. It just absolutely shreds. Like, look at the damage output on this guy.
Do you have a full squad?
Don't join on me right now. I'm doing some testings right now.
Yeah, he's doing testing.
You can see Clutch working. Dude, Clutch kept me alive. It's pretty awesome how well Clutch works. I'll go into more detail on how exactly Clutch works there. Build.
Jesus, yeah.
But as you can see here, let's watch it one more time. The dudes just get shredded. And we can watch it in slow-mo as well. And you'll see how well Clutch works here. Even with such low amounts of armor, you can see me healing up as I'm shooting him until he died. And then on the next guy, I engage him with no armor. And you can see the Clutch working there. Just does such insane amounts of damage. I'm pretty sure I burned him through full armor and then his unbreakable like it was nothing. Yeah, there goes his armor. There's his unbreakable. And then he's dead. So it works really good. Let's look at this other clip here. This was the reason I went full hazard protection immunity, was because of this right here. That guy just melted instantly. Now we've got our Clutch up. God, I love it. So if you notice there, my magazine procced, it refilled my magazine. So we got to like, it looks like maybe around 5 bullets left, and he broke my armor, which causes my magazine to reload. I love it. It worked great. And that's from the Demolitionist perk. Let's watch that one more time here. So we dump him. And we burn through his... It looks like he had efficient going too. Maybe not, though. I don't think he had efficient. But here is where you need that hazard protection. So I light on fire. I can no longer crit this guy. And he kills me with his pestilence behind the wall. Now, if I would not have lit on fire right here, that guy would have been dead. 100% he would have died. And I would have won that fight. So what I did is I sacrificed a little bit more hazard protection. Or I mean, sorry. I sacrificed a little bit more of my crit damage, and I went for hazard protection. And it was worth it. After switching to the full hazard protection to be immune from fire, it was just absolutely amazing. I never ever light on fire. And let's dive into that. Hazard protection is very weird. Currently on my build, I've got 67.4 to everything except fire, which I have 97.4. We did a lot of testing this week on hazard protection, and we found out some weird things. So if someone's just running, like, you know, the holster or the fire specialization that lights you on fire when you break their armor, and they have no status effect modifiers on their build, you need 92.3 fire resistance or burn resistance to not light on fire. That is assuming that they have no status effect. If they have 10 status effect on their build, you have to increase it by 0.6. So you'd need 92.9. And every amount of status effect that they have on their build, by 10, you have to increase by 0.6. So if someone had a full status effect build with, you know, 3-piece China, 2-piece Wyvern, and a Gila, or not Gila, Golan piece, they could have, I believe, 90 status effect, and you would need 97.5 to be immune from fire from that. But the number that I think is more important is the 92.3. That's what most people are running right now because they don't actually spec into status effects. They're just using the fire specialization. And the last thing you want to do is when you're about to kill them, light on fire and lose the fight, especially when you need clutch to survive. If you don't crit, it's just awful. We can look at the other stats here as well. Right now, I'm running only 58.8 crit chance. I need more. I'm missing like 5 crit on my gun, so it'd be easy to make up for that. I just need a better gun. My crit damage seems low at only 116. And like I said, I sacrificed quite a bit of crit damage on this build for all this hazard protection, but it was worth it. So the reason I choose Coyote Mask is when I'm up close with my submachine gun, I'm getting 25 crit damage. That's really awesome. So we've got, you know, all the great stats that this has, plus most of the time when I'm shooting someone with my submachine gun, we're at 25 crit damage plus. Sometimes we might be in the 15 to 25 range, and then we're only getting 10 crit damage. But it's not bad. Then, here's the kicker. 25 meter plus, you get 25 crit chance, which means if you're running an M1A, normally I run an M1A with this build. Don't use a White Death just because I am. I do think the M1A is a more reliable piece. But let's throw our M1A on and show you what's awesome about this mask. So damage to targets out of cover, M1A. When we look at our crit chance, our M1A only has 35.3 crit chance. But if I land one shot from 25 meters away, we now have that extra crit chance. We have 25 more crit chance on the thing because of this mask. You only need to land one shot at that range, and now you get 25 crit chance. And now, magically, that 35 is 60. And that's amazing. To be able to have 60 crit chance on the M1A with this build is awesome. However, it does take one extra shot before you get it. So you could burst it with an SMG and then switch to it and kill them. Another option would be to have versatile on your backpack, although you're going to be much more at risk of dying because of clutch saving you. I've tried with both, and both work great. Versatile will give you 35% multiplicative damage when you switch to your M1A, and then when you switch back to your submachine gun, it'll give you another 35% multiplicative damage, and it is one of the only talents that works in the Dark Zone currently. All right, onto the backpack. Devil's Due. This is perfect clutch Seska. One piece boner. One piece boner. Now the one piece bonus is crit chance. 2-piece bonus is hazard protection. My weapon damage is a little low on it. I rolled this to hazard protection, and it's got crit damage on it. I put a mod in there for burn resistance. I got lucky and found a perfect one. But here's the thing with perfect clutch. A lot of people don't understand how it works now. If you have not killed an enemy, it will not do anything until you're below 20% armor. So once you reach that threshold of below 20% armor, you will start healing for 2.5% of your missing armor. The higher your rate of fire and the higher your crit chance, which is maxed at 60, the better off you're going to be, and you'll be able to out heal some damages, especially like True Patriot's Pestilence builds. It works great. Now, trying to use clutch to survive someone who's got an M1A all reds is a little bit more difficult. You might not be able to heal through them, but chances are they're also going to flop over, and you can burst them down very, very easily with this build. It's really good against the True Patriot's Pestilence builds, though. So after you get a kill, you don't have to fully finish them. Once they hit the ground and are crawling around miserably, you will see the reticle pop up or whatever. You'll see the little clutch symbol. You can see it down there. And it will last, depending on how many reds you have. If you have 6 reds, it will last 10 seconds. If you have, 5 reds like I have right now, it probably lasts like 9 seconds. I'm not sure. And after a kill, what it allows you to do is enter this clutch heal mode no matter what your armor is. So you could be half armor or 60% armor after a kill, and you will start healing when you crit, which is great. It saved me a lot of times, enough to the point that I didn't think it was going to work with low armor, but it does. As long as you're running a high rate of fire gun, it helps a lot. It's not going to save you every time, but it is great. I absolutely love it. And you could mod this for incoming heals, but it's just really not worth it. That 18% or so incoming heals doesn't modify this perfect clutch enough. You'd need to be fully invested in armor and incoming heals for that to really make a difference, I think. So a resistance is pretty nice there. Chest. We've got a Sokolov chest. Obviously, 2-piece Sokolov bonus is great. SMG damage, 3-piece is crit damage, and 1-piece is SMG damage, 2-piece is crit damage, and 3-piece is crit chance. This here we have Unbreakable. Unbreakable in the Dark Zone is only 50%, but that's not bad. For me, I have almost 1 million armor, so it's given me, I don't know, an extra 450 around around 450,000 armor when this pops. Plus, I don't like to run in the dark zone without someone who's running a build that's blue with the Tardigrade chest. It's a really important thing. I think if you're running a 4-man group in the dark zone without it, you're really missing out on some serious potential, because that Tardigrade chest procs and you get a ton of armor on top of your unbreakable. So it's great. There's other options you could use here. I don't think efficient is worth it when you're not running enough blues, but I really like the choice of unbreakable. It pairs really well with the demolitionist specialization thing that refills your magazine when your armor breaks, because your armor breaks, then you get healed, and now all of a sudden your magazine is reloaded, and that's awesome. It's weapon damage, hazard protection, crit damage, and then I modded it for crit damage. You could mod that for crit chance if you needed it. It's up to you. Holster. I did another piece of Sokolov. It doesn't need to be a Sokolov holster. It's up to you. I sadly have only found 2 crit damage capped holsters, and both of them I don't want to get rid of. So they were too good of holsters to consume. So I'm still sitting at 11.1 crit damage on my holster. Once I find 12, this will be a really badass triple god rolled holster here. Hazard protection, weapon damage, crit chance, or crit damage. Knee pads. Once we go to knee pads here, these are your overlords. Standard Fox Prayer Overlord knee pads. 15% damage to out of cover. We'll see how far these get nerfed on Tuesday. I'm guessing they're going to be 9 or 10%. They'll probably match the values from the gloves and these knee pads to guns. I'm thinking 6 damage to armor, 10 damage to out of cover, but we will see. I also have these rolled to hazard protection. These are pretty awesome. Damage to out of cover is a multiplicative damage, and in PvP, most people are out of cover. So even with the submachine gun, I think these are worth using, and even if they were nerfed to 9 or 10%, they would still be worth using. And then finally, we come to gloves. I've been experimenting with this build. I've only had it for 1 day. Yesterday was my only time playing with it, and it was amazing. It worked so well in a group. I wouldn't necessarily say it works super well solo, because you are still very glassy, and you're not going to be able to survive, teams of enemies shooting at you like that True Patriot submachine gun build does. But I've been experimenting with, no blues, 1 blue. I want to try 2 blues and 3 blues. I still think that the damage output will be good enough with 2 or 3 blues. Not quite as good, but it's not like you have to follow this guide exactly. Experiment with the gear that you have and what feels best for you, having, how many blues, whether you have none or 1. The thing is that weapon damage scales strangely. The more weapon damage you have, the less effective adding more weapon damage is. It's additive. It's multiplicative of the base weapon damage of your gun, but it's additive to itself. So taking away 12%, what's it called, or 15% weapon damage is not that big of a deal. As you can see here, my gun is 85.7. If we add 15 weapon damage, my gun is 91.7. That's not very much. That's like, I think 5% damage or so. If that, it's around 5%, 3 to 5%. I don't know with my shitty math, but it's not that much damage that you lose from losing that. But you do gain, quite a bit of armor. You gain like 30% of your armor just from 1 piece. So I kind of feel that 1 piece blue scales better with this build. Your options here to keep hazard protection the same would be adding a 2nd piece of Seska, because the 2-piece bonus is hazard protection, or a single piece of Yawl. Single piece of Yawl is the same thing. Yawl rolls with armor, so I found a really nice pair of Yawl gloves, and that's what I'm running right now. If you feel like you don't need the survivability and you just want to burst them down faster, obviously run more reds. Or if you still feel like you need more survivability, maybe get a holster or a chest or knee pads that you've rolled to blue. And I think the most important thing with this build, though, is having that 100% fire resistance. The build changed throughout its course, and after using it and not being able to crit them when I got them on fire, which is when they're about to die, it just kept losing me fights. And as soon as I became immune to fire, I was winning the fights. It was great. The reason we're using Demolitionist is that it increases your burn resistance by 20%. That is huge right there. That is really, really important. The other thing that's really nice about this, the medkit isn't very good. It's just a regular medkit, but it gives you weapon handling. It's not very important. But another thing that's really nice about this is all your teammates gain 5% damage to out of cover, which is great. That's a nice buff to your teammates. And right here, when armor is reduced to 0, it refills all main magazine or all main weapon ammo. And that is awesome. There is an internal cooldown on this. It can't proc like it used to nonstop. But as you could see in that fight that I showed with the clip, I would not have won that fight without this. I would also not have won that fight without the Tardigrade. That guy was healing like crazy. He had a ton of armor, but I still was able to burn him down. And part of that was because of this crisis response. With a clutch build, the weakness is when you're reloading. You don't get heals when you're reloading. It's not like a True Patriot's Pestilence that doesn't matter. You're always healing. You have to be shooting them to heal. So it's really important. Another thing that's nice, after you spec in a submachine gun, you get a 7 crit laser pointer, which can help you fill your crit cap to 60. And then I have it spec'd for rifles and marksman rifles. So depending on what I decide, if I want my M1A or if I want my sniper rifle, you can choose which one. Let's see here. I don't think there's really anything else that's really important on this. Nothing else in this tree is really that great. Oh, here, ignore explosions. This one's actually really good, especially in PvP when you don't have a bunch of health. A grenade will not hurt you, or an explosive seeker or whatever. You get one explosion ignored, and that's actually very, very useful. This is kind of a slept-on subclass here, this specialization. Demolitionist used to be the best, and pretty much everyone ran it, and now no one runs it anymore. Everyone's running the firewall because of that med kit and the fire when your armor breaks, but it's a great counter to that. As far as skills go, I think EMP Pulse is extremely important. If someone throws a hive on you, or they have a shield out, or a defender drone, or whatever it is, you can just, use your EMP, and you can use it while you're running, while you're aiming, whatever. It works great. I couldn't imagine PvPing without at least 2 people in the group running this. It's very, very, very useful. Secondary skill is much more up to you. I prefer the big Seeker Mine, mainly because it doesn't do a ton of damage. I mean, it's not bad, 240,000. It's decent. It's enough to kill someone who's on the ground already. But mainly I use it as a distraction. Throw it out there, people freak out. Or if you're fighting and you hit them with it, it will stagger them. And then you have enough time to kill them while they're staggered. Especially guys that run strong riot shields. If you hit them with this, they can't combat roll out of the way. So they're going to stagger, and then you can usually hit the side of them where the shield isn't and kill them. It's really, really useful. Your other options would obviously be a defender drone, which would work great if they didn't blow up from True Patriots stacks. Unfortunately, they kill me all the time now because everyone's running True Patriots, and even when they expire, they explode. They don't even have to die from an enemy. When they expire, they blow up and it hurts you. So be careful. If you're dying randomly and you don't know why, that's probably why you had a drone out there and it expired. The riot shield could also work. It's not a bad choice. It's not going to have much health, so I wouldn't recommend it myself. Or the Coom launcher. If you shoot them with the riot foam, it can work really, really good. Riot foam is a great option with this build, and you stick them with it, and they're just going to stand there while you burn them down. So it really is up to you guys. And as far as gun mods go, I expect, 7 crit chance laser pointer, 5 crit chance muzzle, and 5 crit chance scope. You don't necessarily need to do that. It depends on how much crit chance you have on your gun and how much you have everywhere else, but you want to reach 60. I unfortunately am like 1.2 or whatever under 60, which sucks. But there's room for improvement on my gun. This is the only good stubby vector that I have, and this is the gun that I prefer. There is other guns you could use with this build. You can craft the 45 vector. Then there's the vector 9mm that has the stock that's got an even bigger magazine. When you throw a mag in this bad boy, you've got 53 rounds instead of 39. That's a lot more rounds, and some people might like that better. It is a big damage loss though. This one's not perfect, but the tactical stubby vector does a lot more damage per bullet. So if you don't need those extra bullets, it's the fastest DPS gun in the game. The other option is a Banshee. I think the Banshee is great. I've been testing with measured. I've been testing with other things. This is what I use on my True Patriots build, but I run strained because it gets that super long magazine from True Patriots, and strained works really good with it. But I was testing it with measured and comparing it with the vector, testing it with Optimus, testing it around, and the vector just outperforms it in almost every scenario, unless you need long sustained damage. Even though this one's super god rolled for me, I'm still preferring this stubby vector that I have. And then, obviously, as far as guns go, classic M1A I think is your best option as a secondary. Boomerang is my favorite talent to have on it. I have damage to targets out of cover, and I have it modded with double crit chance. I could actually put it doesn't really matter, but might as well put that laser on there for 7 crit chance. As I showed you earlier, the crit chance on this gun is only, it was at 35. Now it's at 37. But once I shoot a single target that's at range, which is the only time I'd be using this in the build, it will be at 60 crit chance. And that's awesome. To have 60 crit chance with full hazard protection and the amount of crit damage that I have on this build, it's really impressive. I like it a lot. As far as the sidearm goes, it's whatever. I never really use mine, but I do have this Diceros with finisher. You can use this once in a while to get your extra crit damage, but it's really up to you. A couple of my friends are running this build without clutch, and they use versatile. Versatile works really, really good. Versatile works in the Dark Zone right now. We're not sure on Tuesday if they're going to fix backpack talents, but majority of backpack talents don't actually work in the Dark Zone. No vigilance, no composure, no concussion, nothing. Like Wicked doesn't work. Shock and Awe works. Versatile works. Clutch works. And a couple of other things work, but that's it. Nothing really good. Bloodsucker works. But with Versatile, if you don't want clutch, this is your next best bet. When you swap to your, say, rifle, chances are that you're going to be shooting someone further than 25 meters. You have 35% multiplicative damage on that now. It's great. And you're now going to be at 60 crit chance because of your mask. And that's huge damage. It's absolutely insane how much damage Versatile adds to your marksman rifle or rifle. It's unbelievably good. And then when you switch back, you can't do it quickly. You have to wait 5 seconds after you've switched to this and gotten the buff and let it wear off. Then you got to wait 5 seconds and you can switch back to your SMG. And then you have 35% multiplicative damage with your SMG to close enemies, which absolutely makes your gun shred. That is a huge amount of extra damage. It's not like adding 35 weapon damage. This is like, if you hit for 100,000, you're now going to hit for 135,000, which is crazy. I think I covered everything. Shade Watch. If you're wondering how you should spec into this, obviously first thing you should do is crit chance. Second thing you should do is hazard protection. Well, I guess first thing on this, I did armor percent and I really regret it. Hazard protection is way more important because it can help define your build. Armor percent is not what you need for a build. You cannot make this hazard protection up any other way. It's really important to get that 10 hazard. I still don't have it. And then I actually did reload speed for my first thing here. Second was accuracy. And obviously here I would just switch these hazard protection, then armor percent. And then over here, I did skill damage and skill haste. I think that's the best option to go. It's up to you. Then second, I did weapon damage. Third, I will go crit damage, and or fourth, whatever, third, and then headshot last. Here, I will go explosive resistance before total health, and then I will do stability after accuracy, and I will do skill repair after skill duration. But I think that covers everything. I know I rambled on about this build, but I really like it. It's a ton of fun. You can check me out live, Twitch TV/Inigo Montoya. I'll be using it there. I should probably change back to this grenade. It's a ton of fun to use this build. However, like I said, it might not be the greatest solo. There is better options like my True Patriots submachine gun build that I did. That is a great solo build. So don't forget to check that one out. Give me a subscribe on YouTube. Click that button. And don't forget to check out all my other videos and stay tuned because I'll be pumping out more builds and guides or whatever it is. Still really enjoying this game even though it's in a real horrible state right now. Hopefully this upcoming patch Tuesday fixes a lot of the broken stuff, but we will see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you around.